Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing our first super guide on a heroic adventure boss. Basically, we're going back and looking through how to beat that heroic boss with every single class and even a deck of common and basic cards only. Now, I've beaten every heroic adventure boss with every hero. I haven't quite yet done every common class, but my original goal is to video all of these. It's way too time consuming, so instead I'm going to put together these super guides where I at least go through the decks I used. We're going to start off with Highlord Omokk. Now the key to beating Highlord Omokk, given his hero power, the general strategy you're going to use basically in every matchup is summoning a ton of minions so that even when he destroys one of your minions for free, you still have a bunch on the board and slowly accumulate more and more. So pretty much your key to almost any deck is typing the word summon into search is one way to go. Fill it up with a bunch of minions that summon other minions or spells that summon a bunch of minions, and put together a deck where you'll keep having gas. Often in terms of card draw, you'll want to throw in something like a Cult Master so that when you do have a bunch of these cheap little minions and they need to trade into his minions, you get to use that as a card draw engine as well. With that said, let's jump into some real decks. First off, we're going to look at Druid. Now, you have the luxury in Druid of being able to pack more big guys than you usually would because of your ability to ramp with things like Wild Growth. Innovate, as I talk, is about to get nerfed. I'd probably take one out and put in another Wild Growth, but you have your staples, which are going to appear a lot like Horned Creeper. Nerubian Egg is amazing because he hits that, you suddenly have a 4/4. It's that you played for 2 mana. Same with things like Devilsaur Egg. And you can ramp into some pretty nice big guys. Giant Anaconda is great because if he destroys that, you get out a huge guy like Kel'Thuzad, in which case you would actually get back the Anaconda, Cenarius, Onyxia, etc. Onyxia is great because it fills up your whole board. Yashiraj will keep pulling big dudes, etc. Wisps of the Old Gods, another great way to just fill up the board so that it really minimizes the effect of his hero power. Don't have Scalomance in here, but easily could throw it in. This is the Druid deck I used. Next up we have the Hunter deck I used. This is going back quite a while from when I originally did the adventure. Gonna have some footage playing of my victory. So same theme, you have a lot of creatures that summon other creatures, including traps like Snake Trap, Explosive Trap to just help deal damage to his board so that you can clean up with some of your small minions. You have the eggs as usual. Imp Master, which can keep summoning dudes, is great. Something like Morose might actually be decent as well. In terms of a more modern list, this is a very low-end list. It tops out at 4 drops, and you have the Cult Master to draw you more, which can go really well with Unleash. Hunter's Mark to give you very cheap trades into things. At the end of the day, yeah, in terms of modernizing it, you could easily throw in more modern cards like Alley Cat and Kindly Grandmother, which are cheap, to give you even more nice Death Rattle things. Rat Pack, and the 4-mana one, that's a 3/3, blanking on the name. Timberwolf. No, not Timberwolf, something like that. Something Wolf. This is gonna bug me. Infested Wolf. So that's the Hunter variant I used a while back. Let's move on to the next class. The old Mage deck I used revolves around a similar theme, but throws in a bit more removal because Mage's removal is so efficient. So you have your Flame Cannons, your Frost Bolts, and your Fireballs. There's a lot of Death Rattle in this deck, so I would definitely throw in N'Zoth instead of one of the Violet Teachers if I were updating it nowadays. Murloc Tidehunter, you're going to see a lot in these decks that I create. And you have one Mirror Image to just slow him down. You know, the cheap spell that generates 2 dudes, which will eat up some of his hero power hits. Otherwise, similar theme. A lot of these are really like trashy, basic cards that just... The fact that it's summoning an extra minion is all you care about to help you build up that board and eventually snowball it. It also features the Fugan Starlag package, where eventually when he destroys a second one of those, you're going to have an 11/11 out, punching him in the face to just help speed up his demise. In terms of the Paladin, Nothing really new to see here. You do have equality to help give you, like Hunter's Mark, multiple. You'll often have a bunch of 1/1s out, and he'll have like 5/4 Wind Fury and all sorts of crazy stuff. The equality just helps you clean up his board. You have really efficient cards in Paladin, like Muster for Battle, to get a bunch of minions out. I built this deck before Stand Against Darkness, which would fit in it really nicely. You have the Fugue and Starlight combo again to eventually get Thaddeus out. Boom and Kel'Thuzad essentially acts as your refresher when you do need to do a bunch of trading. And once you have Kel'Thuzad out, as long as he's with his hero power is not hitting your Kel'Thuzad, whatever he hit will resummon at the end of the turn anyway. So this deck has a few higher end things, so if you get really unlucky at the beginning, you can get screwed. You know, it definitely happened to me a bunch RNG wise, where he will like play his 5/4 Wind Fury, put charge on it, and I have like a full board, but both his hits go straight face and just kill me suddenly for like 14 burst damage. Ridiculous stuff like that will happen, but definitely this kind of deck will win on the whole. Moving on to Priest, a more modern deck list this time, making use of Awaken the Makers, where you play a bunch of Death Rattle that will summon other things, and then eventually you get to Nazath them back, and also get the quest reward, which will set you back to 40 if you have, you know, taken some incremental damage from his Wind Fury minions, etc. Shadow Vision helps you find your Holy Nova to help clean up his board. We even threw in Infested Taurens, and Shadow Vision can help find your death if he has like a buffed up Wind Fury dude and you don't want to trade your whole board into it. Again, you have the Fugue and Starlight package to get Thaddeus out. Wobbling Runts is a nice new addition. When that dies, it gives you 3 minions. And the usual Kel'Thuzad, which can help as long as he's not getting hit, respawn whatever is being destroyed by his hero power. That's the Priest variant I used. In the case of Rogue, I used the quest as well, the Caverns Below. This was before it was nerfed, but it'll play pretty similarly even after the nerf. This was you know, one of the first versions that Dog came out with, and it worked for me pretty easily. Morose is an amazing finisher, especially once those are becoming 5/5s. He'll keep churning out dudes. And eventually you get to a place where you can just, you know, be playing, charging 5/5s, have a whole bunch of 5/5s on the board. If he destroys one of those 5/5s, you're really not losing much progress. Swashbuckler nowadays will just give you coins when you're against a boss like this. But yep, that's the Quest Rogue deck that can definitely take him down. Shaman's another fun one where you can use the quest, unite the Murlocs, unite against Omokk. You basically just fill your deck with Murlocs, especially ones that summon others. Primal Totem will keep summoning things if it doesn't get hit, etc. Even remove the Devil's Saw Egg to make room for these. Hex, just too efficient. It's also about to get nerfed as I talk. War Leader to buff all your Murlocs. Call in the finishers to summon a whole bunch. Finger to get more out of your deck. And, you know, pretty straightforward. You'll get to Everything is Awesome eventually. Is essentially your Bloodlust that'll be cheaper. Neptulon and Sated Threshodon also give you ways to refill if you are running low on gas. This is a fun one. In the case of Warlock, this is an old one I used at the time of the adventure. Emperor Cobra is a little different to have in there, helps you get rid of some of his buffed up minions. Yeah, it's a bit more zoo-like than the others. You have more utility things that help you with trades that don't flood the board with more minions. But it's still built around that theme. Eggs, you know, Horned Creepers. Imp Master that'll keep summoning 1/1s as long as it doesn't get hit. Implosion can summon a bunch of 1/1s. Animal Golem's a fun one to put in because you so often, you know, it's really hard for him to clear your entire board once your game plan gets going because you'll have like 5-6 minions out. That this is something that can stay on the board and be doing a bunch of damage to him. Boom summons Boombots, and of course Lord Jaraxxus is a fun one to put in just because your hero power can then spawn dudes and you're hitting him in the face for 3. Often even once you have the advantage, it just takes quite a long time to finish him off with him constantly getting rid of your creatures and you having to trade into his threats. So that can help just give you some real finishing power at the end. Last of the 9 classes, we have Warrior. This is another Death Rattle themed one, which is why we have Undertaker in here to grow quickly. We have the Hornet Creepers, Nerubian Eggs, etc. This one also includes Cult Master to give you more of a draw engine, Fugin and Starlag to get Thaddeus out, Shield Block to draw and just bide you more time. And I would definitely throw in Nazath. Nixia is a great late game one to refill your board if you're not already sort of winning according to your game plan. I'd probably put in Nazath instead of Crush. Crush is a bit expensive. And that's the Warrior deck I used to take him down back in the day. And the last category is how to beat him with a deck of only basic and common cards. And Paladin is a great class for this because you have some commons that are really efficient at summoning lots of dudes, like Stand Against Darkness and Lost in the Jungle. You have Great Secret in Avenge, which is guaranteed to trigger when he destroys one of your minions automatically and makes another one a lot stronger. And otherwise you have a bunch of creatures that summon other creatures on Battlecry or Death Rattle. Warhorse Trainer to buff the Silverhand recruits that you will get out. Keeper of Uldaman to buff one of your own dudes or one of his threats. Great common card from League of Explorers. Shredder's just always good value, as is True Silver Champion. And once you have a pretty, once you get some stability on the board and having the security to spend 5 mana on one creature, you can get a Scalemancer out so that eventually at some point he'll randomly hit it, and you have an 8/8 to continue going to town on his face and get him low. Sated Threshadon's a bit of a luxury one to just, once he does hit that, give you 3 more creatures. This will, you'll be in the game, you'll keep getting lots of creatures. You might find it hard to kill him. I won with this on my first attempt, but it definitely, I kept getting him low, then he would get his card that gives him armor and redraws cards and sort of gives him momentum again. Often I just have a board full of 1/1s. So it can be difficult to kill him, but that's where, getting your Scalemancers out and letting them survive a bit can go a long way. So this is a deck, as I said, it's definitely not guaranteed to win, but for me it did happen to work on the first attempt. A very solid common-only deck to take down Highlord Omokk in heroic mode. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the first super guide. If you ever want to go back and defeat the heroic adventures, and he's one of the ones to defeat for you, this should certainly give you plenty of ideas and tools in your tool chest to bring him down. On to the next one. See you later.